ทัตเทวมนุสสานังพุทโธภควาติสวากขาโตภควตาธัมโมสันทิฏฐิโกอัคคาลิโกเอหิปัสสิโกโอปัญญิโกปัจจตังเวทิตโกวินยูหิติสุปฏิปันโนภควโตสาวกสังโฆอุชุปฏิปันโนภควโตสาวกสังโฆยายะปฏิปันโนภควโตสาวกสังโฆสามีติปฏิปันโนภควโตสาวกสังโฆยะติทังจัตตาริปุริสายุคานิอัตตาปุริสปุขวาเอสะภควโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนยโยปาหุเนยโยทักขิเนยโยอัญชลิกรณิโยอนุตตรังปุญญกิตังโมคสาติสัพเพสัตตา may all beings avera hontu be free of animosity, apaya pacha hontu be free from oppression, anika hontu be free from troubles of body and mind, sukhi atanam pariharantu be protected for their own happiness. Sabbe satta, may all beings, dukkha pamuchantu, be free from stress and suffering. Sabbe satta, may all beings, mahata sampatito vikachantu, may not be parted from the fortune obtained by them. Sabbe satta, all beings, kammasaka, are the owner of their kamma. Kammakayata, heirs to their kamma. Kamma yoni, born of their kamma. Kamma bandhu, relate through their kamma. Kamma patisarana, dependent on their kamma. Yam kammam karisanti, whatever karma they will do. Kalayanam va papakam va, for good or for evil. Tasatayata avisanti, of that there will be the heirs. Charatamo mahi, I am subject to old age. Charan anatito, I cannot avoid old age. Payati tamo mahi, I am subject to illness. Payati anatito, I cannot avoid illness. Marana tamo mahi, I am subject to death. Marana anatito, I cannot avoid death. Sabbehi me piyehi manavehi nana pavo vina pavo. All that is mine, very dear and delightful to me, will soon depart. Kammasako mahi, I am the owner of my karma. Kammathayato, heir to my karma. Karma yoni, born of my karma. Karma bandhu, relate through my karma. Karma patisarano, abide support by my karma. To that I shall be the heir. Evam amme apinam pasyavetitapam. Thus by us they should be frequently recollected. Aya meva kayo, this body of mine, uttanatala, from the sole of the feet up, anto kesamantaka, from the top of the hair down, dajapariyanto, enveloped by the skin, puronana pakarasa asuchino, is full of manifold impurities. Jaygucho patiguro, all of them are repulsive. Atuvan jivitam, life is inconstant. Duvan maranam, death is constant. Avatsan maya maritapam, surely we shall die. Marana pariyosanam me jivitam, my life has death at the end. Jivitam me aniyatam, my life is uncertain. Maranam me niyatam, my death is certain. Anicca sankhara, all compounded things are impermanent. Tam kuteta lapa, because of this, how can they permanently exist? Let it be. Rupam anicca, form is impermanent. Vedana anicca, feeling is impermanent. Sanya anicca, perception is impermanent. Sankhara anicca, all compounded things are impermanent. Vijnana anicca, consciousness is impermanent. Rupam anatta, form is not self. Vedana anatta, feeling is not self. Sanya anatta, perception is not self. Sankhara anatta, all compounded things are not self. Vijnana anatta, consciousness is not self. Sabbe sankhara anicca, all compounded things are impermanent. Sabbe dhamma anatta, all phenomena are not self. Called mental defilements. There are many terms to be used for this. Mental impurities, defilement, afflictions. All those words actually just mean something. The thing that dulls the mind, that's it. That's what in Pali term, kilesa means. Thing that dulls the mind. If you think of the mind, or sort of compare the mind just like a clear gem. The original one is usually very clear, luster, brilliant. But if it is this dusty and there's dirt that covers it up, then that gem will not be as clear, as luster. And that's what our mind is. It has been like this since we were born. So if we look at our own self, our own being here, we are sort of being bothered, agitated by these three kinds of afflictions. That's what the Buddha said. The first one is craving. Craving, attachment, practically the same. Because when you crave, you attach to it, you cling to it. The second one is aversion, which is also include hatred and ill will, anger, everything so forth.
The third one is delusion, which is just simply means a lack of direction, a lack of understanding, which if you extend all the way to ignorance, no knowledge of things. Okay? So these three kinds of things that dull the mind, the craving, the ill will, hatred, and the last one is lack of knowledge of the truth of our own self, our own life, our own existence. When these things are covering up the mind, we can't do anything much about it. We gotta clean it up first. That's why when we look at the goal of Buddhism, we said Buddha told us to do something until we attain nirvana or nibbana. Nibbana just means that you are free of all these defilements, that's all. When your mind is free of all these impurities, all these dirt, pollutions, then it will be clear again. And that is a state of nirvana. Free, clear, all these defilements. Now, it is sometimes it's difficult because I talk to several people, some of them even doesn't know that. When we talk about all these things, our life is being fraught with all these three things, major things. And this is the one that causes what we call suffering, or dukkha. That's the reason why when the Buddha discovered this Four Noble Truths, he realized that he had attained something that applied to everyone in the world, because we all suffer. And the root cause of this is three things: not knowing, or ignorance, which comes along with the, also cause the craving and clinging. With these three kinds of, or three groups of these afflictions, the Buddha has spent his time and tried to find this truth. And eventually, first of all, he divided these three things, these three kinds of affliction into three levels, or three forms, or three groups. The first one said the crudest form, vijigana, the crudest form of these defilements. Now last week we discussed about the three course of action, the three principle of practice that the Buddha told us to apply into your life, not just listen to it or learn it. The first one, he said, you've got to conduct your life in accord with the moral precepts, morality or sila. When you look at this first kind, or the crude kind of defilements, we can see right then and there, the crude kind of defilements is expressed itself through the physical deeds and the verbal deeds. What are they? The physical deeds: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. And the verbal deeds: lying, slandering, harsh words, and nonsense talking. Okay? All these physical and verbal deeds, that's what are the crude kind, because we can see them, we can hear them. It is very obvious, so it's the crudest kind of defilements. And the Buddha just told us last week that if you observe or put these 5 precepts into your life practice, then you may be able to do something about it, at least decrease them, or even get rid of all of them, of this crude kind. So now we have the crude form of defilements, which can be taken care of easily by observe the moral precept, or put your life into the act of this good conduct, What about the second kind? The second kind is called pariyuttana, or middle form. The middle form is a little bit more difficult to see, but it is being expressed itself when it escalates. Okay. It is something that sort of underlines the first kind, or the crudest form. We are interested in this middle form of defilements. The reason is this. Now we are here, we come here to learn something about meditation. Meditation is mind development. To develop the mind, we got to clean it up. First of all, we clean the outside of it by observing the precepts. And there's some kind of dirt to still cover it up that you cannot just clean it up. So you have to use maybe certain kind of chemicals to do that too. So the middle form of these defilements is comparable to something that I'm going to tell you that the Buddha called these mental defilements. It is the thing that blocks, almost like a paint. It's not just a dirt. The dirt you can sort of wash it out. If it's a paint, then you have to use a paint remover. So this kind of paint is something that sticks a little bit more tightly to the mind. The middle form in Pali is called Nīvaraṇāni. Now it's not nirvana, it is Nīvara. Nīvara. It's not nirvana. Okay? So just take note of that. Nīvaraṇā here, or mental hindrance, there are 5 kinds. The first one is called Kama Chanta. Kama, sense. Chanta, taking delight. Taking delight in the senses. What does it mean? Every day in our life, we are bombarded, we are surrounded by all these senses which come through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, and sometimes the mind itself projects the image or impression in itself. So all those senses surround us. Some of them pleasant, some of them are unpleasant. When they are pleasant, and we can fulfill our either desire or craving for that, then we take delight in it. We are happy, it's pleasant situation. Then this thing can escalate into something like even further into craving and attached to it. Okay. That's Kama Chanta. When this thing arises while we are sitting and try to cultivate the mind, it will block the mind. The mind cannot do anything. So this, what we call mental hindrance, is actually enemy of our meditation. So we have to know them. We have to know how to handle with them. Well, how to handle them, so we can go on and do some good things with the mind or for the mind. Okay. The first thing is Kama Chanta. You can put it plainly, lust for sense. Any kind of sense. Okay. The second kind is Pañca, hatred, ill will. It starts with something very, very simple, like I'm annoyed. That person keeps moving around and I cannot meditate, I cannot keep my focus on my breath. And there's some sense of the incense that kind of bother me, so my mind cannot be on where I want it to be. So it becomes increasingly annoying. And eventually it might develop to anger, rage, everything so forth, and eventually end up with animosity. You just chant something, but be free of all animosity. Okay? Because that is the worst thing that we can have in our mind. So that's the second kind of mental hindrance. Hatred and ill will. which would come from just a simple thing, irritation, annoying. The third kind is tina mita, sloth, talk. Sloth, oh, I'm discouraged, I'm kind of uninterested. Okay. Talker, kind of lack of effort, lack of energy. I don't want to do anything. So put it plainly, something that discourage and make me lazy. And sometimes keep on to the point that, well, I want to do something like meditate to develop my mind, but I can do it tomorrow, I can do it next week, I can do it next month, but I'll still have a lot of time. So procrastination, all things will come in, and eventually just forget about it. So discouragement and laziness is part of this tina mita. It is another kind of enemy of our meditation. Okay. The fourth kind is uddhacca, and this thing, distraction and restless. The mind is go all over the place, being distracted all the time. Hear a siren outside, smell something, then the mind just went off. Just take up all those things and being carried away. So you cannot pay much attention or focus on the thing that you want to do. And this also carry on to our life out there. If you're not focused on your work, because your attention keeps shifting from place to places, you will never make it work, whatever you want to do. So uddhacca, restlessness and distraction is another kind of enemy of our meditation process. The fifth kind is vicikicca, doubt. I'm uncertain. I doubt that really, did the Buddha know about all these things? Did he really exist? He said all these things, that there's a law of karma. If I do good, will I get good? If I do bad, would I get bad? Sometimes I don't see that. So this kind of doubt arises. And then you feel that, why am I doing it? It's a good thing that I meditate to try to make my mind clean and free of all those defilements. You know? So when this kind of doubt arises, I'm uncertain at all that what I'm doing here is a good thing. Is that merit and evil? So when this thing arises, your mind kind of goes somewhere else, keep wandering off. So you cannot meditate. So these 5 mental hindrances, first of all, you got to know them, because while you are meditating, I can guarantee every single one going to have any of these hindrances coming up to your mind. Know them, every one of them. And as soon as you recognize that this is your enemy, you don't want any part of it. Okay. Keep on, shift your attention, your focus, your awareness, your consciousness back to what you want to do. Okay. So that is the second level of defilements, the middle form of pariyuttana. Okay. And the third level, this is very, very fine, very kind of hidden somewhere. Usually you don't see them, you don't even know them. Because something that is just like a fine dust that covers, when you clean up your home, and if you don't really wipe it good or wash it off, there will be those fine dust. You cannot just vacuum them. It's going to be there. So this fine dust we call anusaya. Okay? This is very fine form. Usually you don't see them. You don't think of them, it never appears. But if there is any incident at all from all those 6 senses, it may trigger and it will immerse itself in the middle form and eventually escalate into the crudest form. So it is important that we have to recognize these two. The first one is Raga Nusaya. Raga is something that I like to have this kind of, I like. It is delightful to have, to see, to eat, to hear, to touch something that's delightful. Well, if you just acknowledge it is delightful, it is good thing, it is good food, it is beautiful flowers, but as soon as you let it escalate into something that I have to have this food. If I don't have it, I have to steal it, I have to do something to get it. So it's escalated from a very, very minute thing into a gross, real bad thing. So that's the third kind of this fine form of defilements, anusaya. There are three things also. Raga, nusaya, patika, a little irritation and annoying. And last one, avijja. Avijja is not knowing. So it's coincide with the first three crude form of afflictions. Craving, attachment. The second one is hatred and ill will. The third one is delusion or ignorance. It starts with a fine form, it's escalated into this mental hindrance, and it being expressed through your words and through your physical action. This a very, very brief description of mental defilements. Okay? It is very, very, it's covered a lot, it's vast. I think the Abbot was made some kind of a joke in the beginning that he asked how many kinds of these defilements do we know all. The Buddha said there are 1,500 kinds. 1,500 kinds. You can list anything that bothers your mind, that's what they are. So this is the extent of it. I will copy this during the walking meditation period, so you can read it more. Okay? But these all afflictions we see every day, every part of our life. We got to detect them first, so we know how to handle them. Someone can steal or rob us, we got to know who the thief is, so we catch them. Very simple. So that is a defilements and mental hindrance. So I believe that this is a time we can go ahead and start with our meditation session.